It's gonna get so fucking hot in here. Hello. So I know it's been a while. I was gonna upload some stuff in May, and then that didn't really go through because of reasons. And then stuff happened in June, and then college happened, and then life happened, so I'm basically just gonna be wrapping up everything I read this summer. So May, June, July. I don't even know how many books it is. It's too fucking many. Too many of them I read for school. Some of them I read for fun. Overall, it was not a good time. But the first book is one that I did read for fun. So the first book is Redemption Prep by Samuel Miller. I read this book at the very beginning of May, so I honestly can't remember much about what happened in it. But this is the sophomore novel by Samuel Miller, who wrote A Light Too Bright, which I read in March, because I was an idiot and forgot that he was an author now. But because it's been so long since I read this book, way back 3 months ago, I can't really remember what happened in it. All I know is I really liked it, and I feel like I'm in the minority of that because I was looking at the Goodreads reviews, and this has an average of a 2.86, and I don't rate books, but if I did, I would definitely give it something higher than that. Like, come on, guys. But he's also not a super popular author. But anyways, this book is, I've heard it described as Riverdale meets Twin Peaks. I have seen none of those, but I do have a friend who is obsessed with Twin Peaks, so maybe I'll recommend him this book, but it's severely lacking in overwhelmingly fucked up shit, so he probably won't like it. It's about this school called Redemption Prep. Oh my god, that's the title of the book. Where they go away because they're like good at something like basketball or math, or honestly, I don't even fucking know. All I know is they go away to this school and random shit fucking happens. This one girl named Emma, she's like super fucking popular, and she just goes missing for some reason. Like, we don't really know why, she just kind of goes missing, and then there's like 5 or 6 different people who are trying to find her, and all these characters get together and they try to find her, and you know, it's a time. It's an interesting time. It was a pretty interesting book. I liked it. Again, I liked it a lot more than most people did, but I mean, I do know I'm biased here because, I mean, it's Samuel Miller, right? Like I said in my last video, it's Samuel Miller. He's the lead singer of, like, my favorite band. I'm supposed to meet him because of this book. I'm gonna get a tattoo in his handwriting on my hip because of this book. Like, hello. But any chance I can get to rep Samuel Miller, I'm gonna fucking take it. Because he does not get a lot of credit where credit is due. So, read Redemption Prep, read A Light Too Bright, listen to Paradise Fears. Don't be an asshole like the author of this next book series, Harry Potter. A little bit of backstory with this. I made a New Year's resolution going into this year. I said to myself, I'm gonna read Harry Potter before I turn 20. And what do you know, that's what I did in the month of May. I read the entire series. I would grab it, but it's over there, and I'm over here, and I don't really feel like going and getting it right now. I did read the entire series in the month of May, and the thing is, I recorded a video after every time I finished a book, I would record a video. And right when I was going to start editing it at the beginning of June, J.K. Rowling did the thing. And then I was like, you know what? I don't really feel comfortable uploading videos about this terrible fucking author in Pride Month. Like, no, I just didn't want to do that. July came and I was like, well, maybe I'll do it this month, but then, like, school happened and life happened and I was just like, I don't really feel like it, so if you guys are interested in seeing that, I still have the videos. They're not edited or anything, but I still have them. So if you want to see those videos, like, just let me know and I'll upload them. But that's where, like, all of my actual thoughts are in. But basically, I read the whole series. I thought it was good. It was cool. It was whatever. It was definitely one of those things that I probably should have read when I was younger because it was pretty cringe, especially in those first few books, but it's fine. My favorite book was A Prisoner of Azkaban, because Sirius was my favorite character. I don't really have a least favorite book. It was probably like the second one. I don't fucking know. Again, I read this so long ago, I can't even remember half of what happened in it. I was also spoiled on a lot of stuff that was supposed to happen in this series, like when I was really young. So that was another reason why I never read it for a long time, because I was like, well, I already know what's going to happen, so what's the point in reading it? But third book was my favorite. Sirius was my favorite character. I'm also a Ravenclaw. Okay, cool. Moving on. Okay, so those are all the books that I read in the month of May. And then I went into June, which starts starts college. I took 4 classes this summer, yay, because I'm a fucking idiot. But I took 4 classes, and for a lot of those classes I had to read books. So this next part, I'm only including these books because I spent a lot of fucking time reading them and like focusing on them and doing shit with them. Even if I didn't complete the entire book or I kind of just like gave up halfway through, I'm still including it because I had to write a fucking paper about this shit and I put a lot of time and effort into those, so you're gonna fucking hear about these goddamn books. The first book that I read was one that I had actually already read in like 10th grade called Things Fall Apart by Chinua Achebe. I hope I pronounced that correctly. So this book I had to read for my post-colonial world literature class. It is about the colonization of Africa, specifically the Igbo people, which is in the west of Africa, I believe. Kind of where Nigeria is now. And it centers around a character named Okonkwo, and it talks about like how the cultures, like the Igbo culture, clashes with the English, who were the people that colonized them, and a whole bunch of shit went on. So I don't think this book was written with the intent of having you like Okonkwo, because I remember when I was in 10th grade, I fucking hated him. And this time, I fucking hated him. Especially because of the overwhelming misogyny and sexism in this book. I was just like, oh my god. But once I kind of overlooked that, the story is actually kind of interesting. The way that it goes through all of like the colonialism in, I think it's during like the 1890s at this point, so it's pretty interesting. But fucking hated Okonkwo. I don't think anyone's supposed to like him by the end of the story, but seeing the way that the cultures intermingled and how the characters reacted to what was happening to them was really interesting, and it actually made me want to continue with the series, especially since I found out that Okonkwo was not a fucking main character in the rest of it. That was the only one that I had to read for school, but for the rest of the series I read it. There's 3 books in this series, the African trilogy. And the second book is called No Longer at Ease, and it is focused around the grandson of Okonkwo named Obi. And he is kind of like, this takes place 50, 60 years after the events of Things Fall Apart. It's actually pretty cool because it was written in 1960, which is the year that Nigeria gained independence from England, which is really cool. But it's about Obi, who went to go study in England, and then he came back to Nigeria, and things ensue. I don't really know how to explain it because this is my favorite one of the series, but I feel like if I say anything, I'm gonna spoil shit. It's kind of like the clashing of the cultures. This is several years after the colonization and how the Igbo people are just treated in general by the colonizers, the English, whatever. And it's really interesting to see how, like, he went to Europe. He got educated in Europe, and he's still treated like a piece of shit, so that's great. But there's also, like, a bunch of romance and stuff involved, and how there's, like, the clash of, like, the Igbo culture, and how he wants to marry someone, but he can't because of reasons, you know, it's whatever. But this was actually my favorite one in the series. I don't really know why, I guess because there was a lot less of the sexism and misogyny. That was really nice. But also, Obi was a pretty interesting character. I think the way that he was grappling with the clash of the Igbo people and the colonizers and just his life in general, I thought that was really cool. For our last paper in this post-colonial world lit class, we could choose what we wanted to write about, so I decided to write it about this book, even though I didn't have to, and I think I got like a 90 on it, so that was fun. And then the third book in the series is called Arrow of God. Gotta be completely honest, I cannot remember what fucking happened in this book. All I know is it took place in the 1920s, so it took place after Things Fall Apart, but before No Longer at Ease. It was like in that in-between period when things were still like going down. It's about this priest chief of the Igbo people, or whatever. I can't pronounce his name, I'm so sorry. It's like, hang on, let me see if I can check how to pronounce it. Eziulu. Yeah, let's go with that. I know I pronounced that wrong, I'm so sorry. It's about him and how he is trying to, you know, not have the colonizers and the Igbo people fucking kill each other, and then, what do you know, he almost gets killed. Woo, that's fun. The whole colonization of Africa is like, it's really hard to read about. Like in Things Fall Apart, there were so many scenes where I was like, I didn't even want to continue reading because I was like, ooh, this is really gross. But I had to because school, yay. But overall, the series was pretty good. I don't really plan on going back and rereading it. If I'm gonna reread anything, I'm gonna reread No Longer at Ease, because Okonkwo and like his shit I just don't want to deal with anymore. fuck that guy. Even though he's a fictional character, like, I would fight him. Arrow of God, that one was interesting, but I also can't fucking remember what happened in it. But No Longer Used was pretty good, so if I had to reread any of them, I would reread that one. Okay, these next series of books that I had to read, I'm gonna go through very fast because I had to read them all for a class and they were all written in like the same sort of style. And the name of this class was Don Quixote's Literary Followers. So of course we had to read, you know, Don Quixote by Miguel de Cervantes. We were supposed to read the entire thing, like all 1,000 pages of it, but I didn't want to do that, so I only read the first part, the one that was published in 1605. If you don't know what Don Quixote is about, I guess you're not an English major then. But it's about this guy who reads a bunch of books about chivalry and knighthood, and he goes fucking crazy, and he beats a bunch of people up. So that's fun. And apparently this book is supposed to be like a comedy, like it's a comedic kind of story. But I've also heard that the only reason it's considered a comedy is because it's not a tragedy. Like, those were the only two genres back in the 1600s. It's either a tragedy or it's a comedy. Well, I don't know about you guys, but I didn't find this book very funny. There's a scene in this book, it's around like the 200-page mark, where Sancho Panza, who was like Don Quixote's like right-hand man, he's trying to take a shit, but he's trying to do it without Don Quixote noticing, and I literally remember I stopped myself from reading. It was like 3 a.m. at this point, and I literally said out loud, what the fuck am I reading right now? Because what the fuck was I reading at that point? Like, what the hell is going on? Also, this book deals with like a lot of like political shit and a lot of like, just a lot of like chivalric tropes, and it's like cool and whatever, but like every single character is a caricature of some trope in like knighthood and chivalry books. And I was just like, okay, cool. Can we have something else happen, please? I feel like if I had to read this book, like if I didn't have to read this book for school, like if I just had to read it for fun, I feel like I would have enjoyed it a little bit more, but the fact that I had to read it for school just made it so much worse for me. I don't have the book anymore, I had to return it to the library, but I used so many annotation flags. This is the first time I ever annotated a book for anything. And I think I may have overdone it a little bit because I'm pretty sure I used like 500 annotation flags in like 400 pages. It was pretty bad. We had to read that. I wrote a paper about it. Cool. The next 3 books that I'm going to talk about are all books that I also had to read for this class, so I'm not really going to even talk about what they're about. I'm just going to say it's this with this. So the next one we had to read was Joseph Andrews by Henry Fielding. This was basically Don Quixote, but takes place in England 150 years later. That's basically it. It's also kind of like, it's written in the style of Don Quixote. I fucking hated this book. This one was the shortest on the list. It was literally only like 200 pages. I don't even think I finished reading it. I think I read like 50 pages and then I skim read the rest of it, and then I looked up a Sparks notes on how to like write the paper about it, and he didn't even grade the paper over this fucking book. I was so pissed. I was like, are you freaking kidding me? I hated this book, like with a burning passion. And again, it was supposed to be funny, but I think the way that Henry Fielding tried to make it funny was by giving the characters funny names. There's a character in this book named Lady Booby. I'm not even kidding. What the fuck? So I read that one. And then the one I had to read next was Madame Bovary by Gustav Flaubert. This one was the one I was most excited for because it was about a woman. It was like told from the perspective of a woman. I still didn't like it because I guess there's something about me having to read books for school. I just can't do it. Like, it might be a book that I'm possibly gonna like, but just knowing that I have to write a paper about it ruins it for me. This one was basically Don Quixote, but it's a woman, takes place in France 150 years later. There was a lot of stuff in this book about like this girl who wanted to like have this like big romantic love story or whatever, but she was a huge bitch, and she was also tied down because she was married already, and shit ensues. I don't know. That happened. This one was okay. It wasn't as bad as Joseph Andrews. That one can rot in a fire. But it was okay. It wasn't too bad. But I'm pretty sure I did the same thing that I did with Joseph Andrews. I read more than 50 pages. I think I read about like 150 pages, and I was like, and I had to take a break, and I looked up a Spartans review and all that kind of shit. But anyways, it wasn't as bad. And then the last book I had to read was the newest one, so this one was really hard to find like reviews about, so I actually had to read the entire damn thing. That was fun. I had to read Keyshot by Salman Rushdie. This one only came out a year ago. Still Don Quixote, but it takes place in the 21st century. It's about this guy who goes crazy because he watches a bunch of shitty reality TV like Real Housewives and 90 Day Fiancé and all that bullshit. So he goes fucking crazy, and he decides to go on a quest to find and fall in love with this celebrity person who is like freaked out at his weird ass letters. Again, not great, because I think just the fact that this entire thing was remembered by Don Quixote, which I already don't like all that much, it just completely ruined it for me. But hey, I got a 95 on the last paper. I got an A in this class, so you're gonna fucking hear about these books because I don't care. I put a lot of time into this shit, so you're gonna hear about it, okay? Moving on from that class, because that's all I had to read for that class, thank fucking God. Then we're gonna go back to post-colonial world lit class. I had to read a book called The Serpent in the Rope by Rayo. This was the only book that I could not find at the library. I actually had to buy this book, and I had to buy it on my Kindle, and it's just sitting on my Kindle now forever. What a waste of money, because I can't remember what happened in this book either, and we're in July at this point. Like, I'm pretty sure I read this book in one sitting. I would read a line, and if you asked me what I just read, I wouldn't be able to tell you, because I had no fucking idea what I was reading. This book, I think, is about a guy who is from India. He goes and lives in France. He meets and falls in love with this lady, girl, person, whatever. They get married, and then he goes back to India and he realizes, oh wait, I'm not actually happy with this person, I want to be with this other person, and then shit ensues. I don't fucking know. I can't tell you how it ended. I can't tell you much that happened. All I know is he basically went through a giant existential crisis. But I mean, same. Yeah, that's what happened. So, but I didn't have to write a paper about this book, thank God. Because I cannot tell you what happened in it. But I did have to write a paper about the next book, which is Crack by Edwidge Danticat. So there's a bit of a story with this one. This one was not available at my county library system. It was only available at my state library system. And they did not get it in until about, I don't know, like a week ago, after the class ended. So I had to buy this one as well, but I was able to return it, so it wasn't too bad. I actually liked this one, which is surprising. It was pretty short. I read it in one night, one sitting. It was like 200 pages. It was pretty good. It was a collection of like 10 short stories. It was about the colonization of, or the post-colonialism in Haiti, and it's mostly centered around the women that lived there and what they had to go through, such as like having kids and all that kind of stuff, and just the way that they were treated. It was pretty interesting. There was a few stories that I liked. The two that I liked were called The Wall of Fire Rising and The Missing Piece. They were pretty good. It was a pretty good story. I did like the themes in it. I thought it was pretty interesting. I did have to write a paper of this one. I'm pretty sure I got like a 92 on it, so I'm pretty fucking proud of that. But other than that, like, off into the fray it went. But this one I actually remembered, unlike, you know, the one before that, Serpent in the Rope, because, I don't know, I guess I just liked it more, who knows. The next book that I read was a book that I kinda had to read for school, but not had to read for school. It's like, I would have read it eventually in my own free time, because it was already on my reading list. Before this class, it was called Environmental Communication. We had to read a book, a post-apocalyptic or apocalyptic book for this class. So I decided to read Love in the Time of Global Warming by Francesca Eliopoulos, or Eliopoulos. I don't know how to pronounce people's names, I'm sorry. I read it, it was pretty short. It was pretty interesting. It was about this girl named Pen who basically witnessed the apocalypse happen. That's fun. But it was also heavily inspired by The Odyssey by Homer. Now, I've never read The Odyssey before. The only thing I know about it is what I've seen in Overly Sarcastic Productions videos about it. So you should watch those because they're pretty good. But that's basically all I knew. So like I'd watch that video and then I would go back to the book and be like, oh yeah, I can see that parallel, that's cool. But other than that, the book was pretty interesting. It was only like 200 pages, so I literally knocked it out in like no time. But it was pretty good. There was some gay shit in it, so that was fun. You know me, I love my gay shit. Other than that, just think The Odyssey meets 21st century and a bunch of shit goes on. You really have to suspend your disbelief for this book because, you know, The Odyssey with like gods and shit meets 21st century apocalypse called Love in the Time of Global Warming. Like, it's a thing. But I mean, it's called fiction for a reason, right? And now, we can finally get into books that I read for fun. Finally. So the next two books that I read, first one is called The Fascinators by Andrew Eliopoulos. So this book is about these kids, these magical kids, who go to this school in South Georgia, home state, rep. And they form this club called the Fascinators, and it's, you know, pretty fun, pretty cool. And then, whoopsie daisies, one of the characters, James, gets involved in some sort of magical, like, gang mafia thing. He, like, takes their book, and then he ends up losing their book, so they're kind of, like, cursing him until they can get it back. Like, it's a thing. And also, the main character, Sam, is, like, in love with James because, you know, but James is also a huge fucking dick, and Denver deserved better. I read this entire book, and by the end of the story, I didn't like any of the characters, except for Denver. He deserved better. That's all I can say. But this book was pretty good. The way that it's pitched is that it's, like, the Raven cycle meets, like, the Simon Snow series. I can see it. I mean, the Raven cycle is up there. You can't really see it, but it's up there. And Simon Snow series is over there. I can't really see the Simon Snow series. I can see the Raven cycle a little bit. I mean, it was pretty good. If this author releases more in this series or whatever, just releases more in general, I'll probably read it. But overall, like, the ending result, I was kind of like, okay, I don't really know how that happened, but it's fine. The last book, We Are Totally Normal by, I cannot pronounce the name. Hang on, I'll have to read it. You guys are learning very easily that I can't pronounce names. Rayo Kanakia. I'm so sorry. So this book is, how do I even describe this book? It's got gay shit. That's fun. It's always fun when there's gay shit. Overall, I can't really like, This book is about this kid named Nandan, who has his first gay experience with this guy named Dave, and that's kind of it. Like, the entire story is him trying to figure out, like, if he's actually attracted to Dave, if he's straight, if he's gay, if he's bi, if he's ace. Like, he doesn't fucking know. That's basically what the entire story is about. There were some things in this story that I didn't like. Like, there was some, like, misogyny and sexism in there, and I was like, oof, don't want any of that. But there was also, like, some lines in there. There was one line specifically, I can't remember what it is, because I don't have the book anymore. But I was sitting at my sister's pool, reading this book, and there was a certain line that I came up on, and I wished that this wasn't a library book and that I had a pen so that I could, like, underline it, and I don't write in books. Like, that's how much the line, like, spoke to me. I was like, oh my god, that's literally me. Because it was like, whoa. Out-of-body experience, fucking falling on the ground, freaking out. I was like, how did you read my mind like that? It was so cool. But I was like, damn, this is a library book. Fuck. Other than that, there isn't really a lot in this book that I really liked. It was kind of like Aristotle and Dante discover the secrets of the universe meets something that I don't know what it's called, but it meets something. And that's kind of what this book was. It was kind of like nothing, but it was like everything at the same time. So I don't know if I would ever buy this book just for that one line, but I hope I can find that line again and, like, tattoo it on my forehead, because it was like, oh my god. And that's it. Those are all the books that I read from May until July. There's a lot of other books I plan on reading. I actually made a reading schedule in the month of July that I didn't stick by at all. I think I planned to read like 25 books. I read like 5. It didn't work out. There was a lot of books I had to read. There's still some books over there that I'm supposed to get to before they're due back at the library. It's just not working out for me, but it's gonna happen. Like, I'm gonna be able to read all these books by the end of the year. It's gonna happen. And also, I'm finally going to get to that book that I have been talking about for like 3 fucking months. It came out in April. It's a sequel to my favorite book ever. I'm gonna fucking read it. Like, I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna do a video about that, and you're gonna fucking like it. Like, I don't care. I'm so excited, but I'm also really, really nervous at the same time. Like, what? That's all that I read during this summer. I'm so sorry it's been so long that I uploaded. I'm telling you, I had stuff planned. Shit happened. I had all those videos for Harry Potter recorded and everything. I sat down to edit them, and then J.K. Rowling did her thing because she's a huge fucking douchebag. I was like, really? 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 Percy Jackson it is then? But if you're interested in seeing those videos, let me know, because I still have them. I have to edit them, which I don't want to do, but I will if you want to see them. And that's about it. Bye, guys.
Also, of course your favorite character was Sirius. Of course it was.
I thought I told you that.
No? But if I were to guess, I would have been like, Malfoy or Sirius.
I mean, in fan fiction, Malfoy is pretty good, but in the actual series, he's a little shit.